Magic.me is the world's greatest school for magic, meditation, and mysticism. You can learn everything there, from chaos magic to hermeticism to meditation to how to supercharge your finances and take absolute control of your destiny. In short, you get all of the tools you need to turn chaos into beautiful, scintillating order and master your life. It's incredible. You've probably heard me talk about it on the show quite a lot. But check it out. It's growing fast. And I just want to say, if you're confused about where to start, because I have so many courses there, the Adept Initiative is the place to go. The Adept Initiative is the flagship course on magic.me, and it contains everything you need to know to master the most profound ancient techniques of changing your consciousness and the most modern and cutting edge tools and systems for absolutely turning your life into a masterpiece. You are really going to dig it. Go check it out, and I will see you in class. It's magic.me, magick.me.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Okay. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
Greetings from Germany.
Hello.
Yeah. So,
How is it there?
it's going fine, I think. In regards to COVID, you mean, or?
Yeah, and lockdown. I was seeing video on, I think, Sky News of protesters being sprayed with water cannons.
Well, yeah. So
This is a
I'm
while
not
ago.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've seen that, but yeah, there have been actually a lot of protests going on, like since the beginning of COVID and the lockdowns, and yeah, there's quite a resistance movement against it that gets kind of propagandized against in the mass media and so on. But it's like online and in the alternative media, yeah, there's a lot of pushback and resistance against lockdowns.
Is it like the middle of the night then?
Yeah, it's like 11 p.m.
Guten Nacht. I hope that's the right German.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay. Well, how's people's moods there?
I guess most people are kind of going along with it, although there is definitely some frustration as in regards to the kind of the rollout of the vaccines, and also the lockdowns that have been prolonged now for, like, I guess the second time since November. And yeah, it's so people have been kind of going along with it, although there are these kind of resistance movements and protests, but it's starting to feel like people are kind of getting annoyed at how it's handled. But yeah, so business are locked down still. I know they're like trying or planning to open like haircut salons next month, but like the businesses, like retail business and stuff, is still kind of staying closed. Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is about some after effects that I have from meditation. And so I've been doing the Adapt initiative and doing the meditation as you have prescribed there, the Raja Yoga, Dragon Asana, the pranayama, all that stuff. And so in the beginning, it was quite fine. Everything was all right.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I started to notice after a couple of months, maybe like 4 to 5 months of doing the meditation pretty regularly, like pretty much every morning for the 30 minutes.
Okay.
I've started to feel kind of tired, dizzy, and like foggy and lightheaded after meditation.
After what
And
meditation specifically? What were you doing?
Raja Yoga.
What pranayama or what?
Basically, as you laid it out in the Adapt initiative, so Dragon Asana,
Okay.
the pranayama with I can only do a count of 5 in, 10 out, or I can go up to like 7, 14 maybe, but like in that range. And dharana on the third eye, point between the eyebrows.
Okay.
So doing all of that in one session. And yeah, so I've started to get these effects, and where, yeah, it was some days worse than others. And yeah, sometimes it would be, yeah, just pretty, I don't know, annoying, because I would then, sit down to do my work, my studies, whatever. And it would be kind of hard to focus and concentrate because, yeah, I kind of felt out of it, just, foggy, and couldn't really concentrate and focus, or was at least harder.
Okay, so I just want to be very clear, and hopefully you took good records. But let me be very clear, which
sure.
is so Dragon Asana, 5-10 pranayama for 30
Yes.
minutes a day, and you were doing.
Yes.
Were you doing alternate nostril?
No, just no hand movement, just 5 in, 10 out.
And you were doing dharana on what? What was your symbol?
No symbol, just on between the eyebrows.
Okay, great. And you were feeling lightheaded?
Yes. Yeah, just like kind of like woozy, I guess, or dazed, a little bit like, yeah, just kind of out of it.
Can you maybe be more specific or use more specific language?
Okay.
The more specific, the better.
Yeah.
Like, where were you feeling it? Were you feeling it in your head? Were you feeling it in your body? How was your cognition? Were you able to think clearly and so forth?
Okay. So I was able to think clearly, but yeah, I was kind of feeling this tiredness in my, I guess it was more like in my upper body, like from head to chest area somehow. It was kind of, yeah, like maybe it felt a little bit like it was pulling me down or something.
Okay.
And yeah, so so I saw also then kind of stop the meditation and to kind of have a reference point. And so I would notice that in comparison to after to doing the meditation, like I don't know, I would like sit down at my desk and I would just feel kind of tired and wanting to close my eyes and like sleep or go back to meditation and yeah, just to kind of rest more, I guess, and to so it was hard to push my energy outward and do something and concentrate, or it would take more conscious effort to do that.
How long did that last for in general after the session?
I guess it would last for, so the strongest effects were like maybe like half an hour after the session, and then I would usually still feel it kind of like 2 hours afterwards, so it would kind of fade out until 2 or 3 hours afterwards, and yeah, it would have kind of faded out completely.
And did it this disturbed you? It just didn't feel like you were relaxed. It felt like something was wrong.
Yeah, it felt like, I mean, it wasn't really what I expected, or I guess wanted out of meditation. So I guess I expected more.
What did you expect?
Yeah, I guess more of a sense of calm and ease that I could carry with myself around today.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to differentiate very clearly between two things. This is not a loaded question. It's just for clarity. It's between, okay, on one hand, you got an effect that was not what you expected. That is 100% to be expected, right? Meditation is not what people think it is, right? And there's many parts of it that are a slog, and it's almost, and it's not Hollywood, just like everything else. It's
right.
a new experience. But I want to differentiate that. So there's you got so there's, on one hand, you got a result which was not what you expected. Okay, that's not a problem. On the other hand, there's something, you feel that there was something physically going wrong, or that was of medical interest, or that was actually just causing you a problem. Other than, it sounds like you just felt tired afterwards and a little lightheaded.
Yeah, I guess that would be right. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that I felt like something was going like physically wrong with my body. It was more like, I kind of I thought I should feel better after meditation.
Well, okay. So I think you're doing fine. My first point would be, I think that in general, it's better to focus on one thing at a time. So I would just say focus on asana until you've mastered it, then focus on pranayama until you've mastered it, then add dharana. You don't need to do all three at once. You can do one. In fact, it's better to do one at a time until you really have a handle on it. The other thing I want to say is try taking a nap afterwards. Like, often with me, after meditating, like, I will definitely feel, meditation is work. You have to understand.
Right.
It's a type of work, very intensive mental work, and physical work. And so, and particularly if you're doing pranayama, you're probably getting more oxygen than you're used to, which, you're not doing very heavy pranayama at all. But meditation, particularly the type of meditation that I teach, Raja Yoga, is quite athletic in the sense that it does not come naturally. Your body needs to be trained to do it. The type of meditation that is generally taught, and I think I talk about this in Addict Initiative, but let me just reiterate briefly. The type of quote unquote meditation that is taught in the open marketplace is watered down to the point of not even being meditation in a sense. And people are kind of given the impression like, oh, you can just think happy thoughts for 5 minutes a day, or do a guided meditation, and then your life will be amazing, and you'll be calm, and you'll be spiritual, and nothing will bother you.
Yeah.
And it's a sales pitch, okay? And it's our own fault in, over many over the last 100 years of bringing this stuff to the West, in that it's had to be marketed. Meditation has had to be marketed to a capitalist culture, right? But the truth is that even in the East, right? The East, quote unquote, which doesn't really mean anything. Let's say even in India and the Buddhist countries and things like that, like people meditate, but even people who seriously meditate are still extremely rare because it's hard. And for the most part, even in India, the people that you find that meditate, if they're householders, will do a very basic practice, just a little bit each day. And that's fine for them. And that's more than most people do. But you don't find people willing to go and do serious work. The type of meditation that I teach and many other types of meditation that I reference that are available out there for those who look are intense. That's why I call it hardcore meditation on magic.me, just to be cheeky about it, but it's a correct description. Asana is physically intensive. It's painful, right? Your body needs to be adapted to it over long periods of time. It's almost like forcing your body. It's almost like basically it's forcing your body to mutate in a sense. It's forcing to, you're changing the physicality of your body, not just your mind. You're changing the physicality of your body against all of its natural inclinations by will alone. Think about that. I mean, it's like by will alone. It is the meditation, particularly. This is a test of will, and that includes asana. It goes times 10 for pranayama, because by the time you get to pranayama, you have to physically restructure the tissue of your lungs over a long period of time through athletic rigor. But you have to do it slowly so that you don't hurt yourself. It is very much, I think a more precise way to put it would be that real yoga is very much a process of body modification, right? In the same sense that, urban primitives or body piercing or tattooing or plastic surgery or, all of these things, fakers, like Fakir Musafar, people like this. It is very much a process of body modification. Right. And that's intense. And it's above and beyond where most people are willing to go. The level that I teach it to in Adept Initiative is still very light, but I also point you to where you can ratchet it up. But it takes a while. I mean, it takes years. Well, when I say years, 2 years, right? Let me say this comfortably. If you do if you do a half hour a day, like you're doing, and you're able to get it up to an hour a day, you can expect 18 months to a year, or excuse me, 18 months to 2 years to really get a handle on that stack of technology, right? I think that's a fair assessment of work. That's working daily, right? And increasing the time over those 2 years. Mm-hmm. It's still a practice that is available to householders because you can still do that and maintain a day job. But it's tough. And meditation is in many ways a self-confrontation. And to even asana, you will go through rings of fire. It's like you will go through excruciating physical pain, excruciating. Then it will be fine. Then it will be a totally new level, a new level of bodily sensation that you've never experienced before on the other side of that. But you have to go through the fire. And it's the same with pranayama. It's hard work. It makes you really loopy. It can, particularly when you're adding pranayama, though. I just simply recommend. I think the best thing to do is just take a nap afterwards, or even for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I think that, are you doing it in the morning, by the way? When are you doing it?
Yeah, in the morning. Just like you recommended it, doing the purification in the morning. And then, just before eating or doing anything else after the shower.
Are you having caffeine at all?
After the meditation, not before.
Try it before the meditation.
All right.
It's not like a must, but I find that it helps. It's not an Indian thing. I picked it up from Zen meditation. The Zen monks use very strong green tea. I'm a bit of a speedy guy myself, so I actually have a genetic. Believe it or not, I actually have this. This may not work for everyone, and I'll say this: I actually have a genetic predisposition to stimulant abuse. Believe it or not, it's actually in my genetic code. So I drink a lot of caffeine. So that may not work for everyone, but but I think that even just something like a cup of green tea is really good because Just coffee will give you jitters, but green tea
Right.
I think I mentioned this in the course, green tea contains not only caffeine and nice things like catechins, but it also includes the amino acid L-theanine, which synergizes with caffeine to take the jitters out. So it really is the ideal drink for meditation. I think matcha green tea is really good. That's what the Zen monks do, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. But try some green tea. Um, you can sip it while you're getting into asana, and then proceed on. You may find that helps.
Yeah, I actually wanted to try this one coffee recipe that you once posted on your blog, like the bulletproof
Oh
coffee
yeah,
recipe. Yeah, that I guess you recommended it in the supercharger to, and yeah, I
that was
haven't
a long
tried
time
it yet.
ago. What was the recipe? Remind me,
Right.
because this was many years ago. I remember the general outline, but please remind me what the recipe was.
Um, yeah, I don't know exactly, but like you said, I guess this L-theanine
Yeah.
um,
Oh yeah.
powder, and then I think some coconut oil because it has another
Yeah.
compound that mixes with the L-theanine.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, now it's coming back to me. So I basically combined a caffeine L-theanine stack with the quote unquote bulletproof coffee. That's a good one. I'll say this. This is what I do now. Okay, I'll give you my current recipe. Um, the I like so first point is substitute coconut oil with MCT oil, which is refined coconut oil, and you don't need to use as much. It works a lot better.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, just ditch pure coconut oil. Use MCT oil instead. It's actually not very expensive anymore. The um, Here's what I do now. So I love my favorite is loose leaf green tea. You can get these things. I don't know what brand does it, but you can get sorry M as in Metroid MCT. I think it means multi-chain triglycerides or something like that. Um, So I like you can get these things called green tea pearls, which are basically just pure green tea leaves, like squished into little balls. And then when you pour boiling water on them, they expand, and then you get really pure green tea. Oh, thank you, medium chain triglyceride. Thank you, James. That's correct. So I use that. You can just use just use loose leaf green tea. I'll brew that up, and then I will throw it in. You can throw it in a blender, or I use a device called a magic bullet. You can also use a ninja bullet. There's like these little drink blenders. It doesn't matter what kind you get. It's just like a small blender. So I will throw in the green tea, and I will put it in with grass-fed butter. I use Kerrygold from Ireland. Is amazing.
Sorry, do you mean the green tea or the coffee?
So I use green tea instead of coffee.
Ah, okay.
Right? You can do coffee too, right? But I find that green tea is even better because then you don't need to add the L-theanine because the green tea
All
already has
right, good.
L-theanine in it, right? And it's just cool. It has all these other amazing health benefits. So you use the green tea, put it in a blender with Kerrygold grass-fed butter, which is full of all this amazing stuff, which runs your brain. It can't be just normal butter. It's got to be grass-fed butter, and Kerrygold is the top one. It's so good you can just eat it on its own, and I'm not being weird. It's that good. Um, Kerrygold grass-fed butter. I'm sure you can get really good butter in Germany too. So I'm sure that there's comparable
Right.
grass-fed. I mean, you can probably get Kerrygold too, but there's
Yeah,
also
we have Kerrygold.
okay, great. There maybe there's even better grass-fed butter there. I don't know. Maybe you know, but I've seen some good
I'm
stuff.
not sure, but
Well, just use
yeah,
Kerrygold.
butter
It's
is no
great.
problem.
Yeah.
Right.
So, um, so you get green tea, Kerrygold, MCT oil, and then blend it till it's like for a while till it's like frothy, and then you drink that, and that's like the perfect meditation drink in my opinion. Caveat. No, well, let me clarify that or validate that rather. Why is it the perfect energy drink or meditation drink? You get green tea in its very concentrated form from the pure leaf, which is caffeine plus L-theanine, so it's sustainable energy without jitters. You also get catechins, which are fat burning, and polyphenols and a bunch of stuff that's just extremely high in antioxidants, right? Which is awesome. It just helps your body run. Why grass-fed butter? Because it's got butyric acid in it, and it's an extremely high-quality fat. Your brain needs fat to function, right? Why MCT oil? Same, right? MCT oil also swaps your body, helps to assist to swap your body over from burning carbs to fat, which is extremely good for mental clarity, right? So you give a bunch of fat. Your brain basically, fat is gasoline for your brain. You need it. So you get the grass-fed butter, you get the MCT oil, and then you get the green tea. When you blend it all up, it becomes it just becomes super frothy and tasty, and that's why. And you can drink it. So that's the perfect. And I've been at this for quite some time. That's my current perfect recipe, right? So caveat: acid reflux. You have to be careful with this because caffeine loosens the forgive me for saying this, it loosens the sphincter at the top of your stomach, not the lower one, the upper one between your esophagus and your stomach. And fat requires a ton of stomach acid to digest. So what can happen is you get an excess of stomach acid, which now jumps up into your esophagus. That is really bad. You don't want that to happen. So be careful with it and monitor it. If you start to get acid reflux, then cut back or eat something first. Somebody
on that point, I actually, something that I didn't mention, but that I was also suspecting that maybe part of my meditation after effects is that I also have stomach issues as like a chronic health problem, and so this is something that affects me in my day-to-day, not really badly necessarily, but it does have an effect. So I was also thinking that maybe this also kind of impacts my meditation, and that's something that I need to take care of, and I also will. So I'm planning to take care of it in the coming months. But
okay, yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah, I mean that's a tricky one. You got to clean your diet up. It's if that is the issue, I would just say just stick with pure green tea. Don't be throwing fat into it. Also,
right.
if you already have stomach issues, that can be an issue. But just green tea on its own is phenomenal. So. Yeah, so I would try that, and then, and just as a final point, I mean, like, look, meditation is meditation in its proper form is practiced by people who are renunciates, right? So mixing it into a life with other other responsibilities is requires juggling, and it requires you to be honest and self-aware. And I just want to say it's not a race, right? You need to figure out what the happy everyone needs to adapt this. Everyone, right, needs to adapt this practice to themselves in their own life, right? This stuff is not written in stone. You have to take what is there and make it work for you. Now, I've given you in the Adapt Initiative my best possible information. I'll say it's not advice, but information that I've gleaned from many, many years of doing this in the world we're all currently living in. So it's me talking, not somebody from the 14th century. So I share with you the best I have been able to do in terms of integrating these practices in a way that I think that modern information society, attention economy people can benefit from, and in a way which is totally faithful to the original material. That said, you're still going to have to adapt it to your own life, right? Your mileage may vary. You need to, as Crowley said, cut through the forest with a machete yourself. And I've given you the best map that I can, but it's still just my map, and you're going to have to figure it out and adapt it to yourself, because everyone's body's different, Everyone's life is different. Everyone's circumstances are different. Everyone's level of development is different. So I just say, make it work for you. It's not a race. There's no gold star at the end of the rainbow. The point is to take the tech and make it work. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. I don't think anything is wrong. I think that I would just continue, just keep going, write down your results. If try caffeine, try a nap afterwards. That's what I do. Because I definitely, I mean, like, I'm not ready to fucking, pardon me, I'm not ready to be like, all right, up and at 'em, let's start spreadsheeting like right after meditation. It's like
I had the idea, but it just always felt kind of weird to just go take a nap directly in the morning after waking up and having meditation. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good.
I can do it. Yeah. Maybe I guess it would feel good.
Yeah, just, I mean, like, there's great, Shavasana is good, or sometimes called corpse pose, which is just simply laying on your back afterwards. They always have it in yoga class. Just, like I'll just go back to sleep afterwards, like, and that's fine. And your brain needs to rebalance its chemicals and catch up, right? You're not a machine, right? None of us are machines. There's a great temptation, certainly for me, but I think probably for most people in the modern world now, there's a great temptation to view yourself as a machine, because we live in a world in which that moves infinitely quick. It changes every 24 hours. It moves so fast, it's almost impossible to keep up. It is impossible to keep up with the change. It's, particularly this year, with how fast things are changing, with technology, with politics. Like, it's a completely new world every 24 hours. And so we're always stuck with this feeling that we're behind, that we have so much to do. We're always anxious. It's maybe never been like this before. It's exciting also, but it's obviously quite anxiety inducing. And I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, because like the hippies in the 60s said, like, well, we need to drop out from industrial society altogether. And it's obviously industrial society that's causing this problem of alienation in modern man and all that. And it was a very hackneyed idea. And I don't think they got good results. I mean, a bunch of them tried to start communes, and it's just like a disaster. It's like, like, I like my creature comforts. And I think that what I've tried to present is a way of spirituality that doesn't require you to radically alter your lifestyle, and where you can maintain an approach to life as everyone else is living it, but also do spirituality. And I think that that's the way forward. That's just my opinion. Other people may have different opinions, and that's fine. But I'm trying to teach in a way that doesn't mess people's lives up. And I think that in that regard, you just have to make it work for you. And I think that part of my final point on that is that part of making, quote unquote, making it work for you is realizing there's no sacred cows here, right? It's just gear. It's just technology, right? It can be adapted. Just because somebody was doing something one way 600 years ago, or 100 years ago, or a year ago, doesn't mean you have to do it that way. Now, I think that there is great value in being purist, and in when you're initially learning the practices and doing them exactly as written. But that said, once you get the point, and there truly is a moment with all of these practices where you get it, quote unquote, whether it's banishing or meditation or whatever, where you're like, oh, I know what they're talking about. I got it, right? Okay, like, oh, they're talking about flying. I got it, because I feel totally weightless and like I don't have a body. Oh, bingo, that's what they were talking about 600 years ago, right? Or with banishing, with element, it seems like bizarre, and then you get
what McAfee talked about. I guess I haven't read the book, but
yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that your interpretation is the be all end all, but there's a lot of these things, whether you're interpreting a tarot card or whatever, where you just get it. And that moment where you get it is not like the ultimate truth of the thing. It's where it meets, where the practice has met you, and you've made it your own, right? In a way that you understand what the tool is and what it does. And you will use it in a way that is maybe different from anyone else. But you have to get to that moment. When you do, then you can begin to adapt it, right? And so I think that my general advice is just keep going. Nothing you've said makes me concerned that something is going wrong. I just think that you're new to it, and it'll take you time to adapt it and understand the territory.
Right. And yeah, so also the last thing I will say is that that maybe I kind of viewed meditation as like a means to an end, or something that I do to like maybe there was like this kind of attitude in the back of my mind, like I want to be more efficient at my life, and meditation is like kind of this thing that I can do to supercharge myself and to gain a superpower of concentration so that I can just be more effective in what I want to do. But so maybe it's I don't know, that meditation is, I don't know, it's an end in and of itself.
Yes, you said it perfectly. Well, I want to say, like, does it do all those things? Yeah, it does. And we're all guilty of this. I'm guilty of using that as a way to say, like, oh, as an attempt to, even for 2,500 years, Buddhists have been trying to market this stuff to normies by saying, or the general public, by saying, like, oh, it'll make you more focused, and so whatever, like, make your life better. But at the end of the day, or the infinite timeline, it is exactly as you said it, which is meditation is goalless. The point of meditation is meditation, and since it's constantly changing, because as the Buddha assures us, the nature of the world is change and impermanence. Once you get that, you give up the idea of getting anywhere, and that's critical for magic also, in the sense of the lust of relinquishing the lust of result. And it's totally critical for both. In fact, it's how the human mind works. You have to let go of the desire to get an effect, or also the desire for it to get to a certain state, like state chasing, like a mental state. You have to let go of that, because it's going to change no matter what. There's an excellent book, I think I recommended in Adepts Initiative, called Finite and Infinite Games by James P. Carse, a game theorist from the 60s, where he basically says, you may know this already, but let me reiterate it for other people on the call who may not. He basically says there's two types of games. There's a finite game, which you play to win, right? So an example would be, I don't know, Doom, right? Doom is in a sense a finite game, because you play it, you get to the last level, you beat the final boss, you win. Done. Okay, I beat the game. Great. Okay, that's a finite game. Then there are infinite games, which you play. Well, what are other examples of a finite game, right? It's like sports are finite games. One side wins, right, within a set time period. The business world often is a finite game. There are zero sum games where it's winner take all, right? But then there's infinite games, which are games that you play just because they're enjoyable, right? The point of the game is to play the game. Examples of infinite games, actually a lot of video games now. Sandbox games like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, and many others are infinite games, because there's almost infinite things you can just keep going forever. But also other infinite games would be, meditation. Obviously, magic itself is an infinite game, right? So this is one of the reasons why I don't like teach grade. I don't like give people grades and things like this. And, those can be useful for benchmarking. And certain practices very much do have endpoints, but spiritual practice is an infinite game. It goes on forever. Exercise is an infinite game, right? There's no endpoint. You don't just stop. You just like, oh, like I got to a certain point, and then you stop working out. Well, you lose it all, right? So, but infinite games are the greatest joys in existence, right? You want infinite games. The gods themselves create the universe as an infinite game. Human existence is an infinite game. Like, you think about it, like every single one of us is living a human existence that is largely indistinguishable from all the rest of the billions of people that have ever lived, right? It's like, if you take the general outline of a human life, you're born, you're educated, you go through trying to find your place in the world, mating, reproduction, decay, death, etc. and all the other bits and pieces in there, the general pattern for a human life is not very complex and not very different from person to person. Although it is in the same sense with music, where you have 7 chords, or 7 major and 7 minor chords, but from those you can create almost any expression in the universe. I mean, you can literally, most songs are 4 chords, know. And from those, it's like literally, it's like you get like all the pop hits of the last like 50 years, right? It's 4 chords. So it's like human life is an infinite game. It's so enjoyable that you play it forever and ever and ever. And this is actually the Buddha's point, where it's like human life existence is an infinite game. That's why you keep being reborn, because you're so attached to how enjoyable it is. But the Buddha's point is like, well, it's like, it's always going to be awesome. I mean, yes, it's horrible and it's awesome, but you're going to keep coming back again and again and again forever. And breaking that is, should we break that? Well, that's the question, right? The Buddha says yes. Hindus say no. The Gnostics say yes. The Hermetics maybe say no. Depends on who you ask. Christians say yes, right? So anyways, case in point.
Yeah. So I don't want to take up any more time, but yeah, thank you. That was very helpful.
You're welcome. And, good work. I mean, keep going. I mean, what you're getting results, and you're getting into the territory, and that's good. It means you're doing something real. So just keep going.
Yeah, I guess I will try to just focus on asana for the time being. So I guess that was also something that I kind of also wanted to do intuitively. Like that was something that felt right, but I kind of thought that it would be better, or I guess more effective, to just focus on all of these things, dharana and pranayama, at the same time. But now
it's kind of good at first, so you understand how they all fit together. But yeah, now you do one at a time, man. There's no rush. There's no rush.
Yeah, got it.
It's a pyramid. You build one level at a time.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Jason.
You're welcome. Great. So in brief response to comment, I don't normally do comments in the text, but actually this is very useful, or excuse me, interesting to me, about microdosing mushrooms. Lion's mane mushroom. Okay, like 2 months ago, I found some lion's mane mushroom on sale, and I had this massive dose of it because I'm me. I think on the Grand Conjunction, not on purpose, but just because like I'll find stuff and I'm like, oh, what does that do? And I'll take it, right? So, interesting effects. I mean, practically psychedelic. Highly recommend it. It was bizarre. It wasn't a drug trip. It was just like my brain was like firing on all creative cylinders all night, and I couldn't sleep. And there's a lot of euphoria also. It was interesting. Niacin, that's some Scientologist shit. I have no thoughts on that. Cordyceps is interesting, but to do it for real, you have to get the actual caterpillars out of Chinatown and boil them. And most people are not willing to do that. I haven't actually done that, but that's the way to do it. It is, by the way, cordyceps. For those who don't know, what cordyceps fungus is it's a fungus that enters into the snot of a caterpillar and turns it into a zombie caterpillar. It's the basis for the video game The Last of Us, the zombie video game. But it's a real thing. It turns the caterpillar into a zombie, and it totally replaces all the internal organs of the caterpillar with black fungus. So it's like it takes over the caterpillar and then makes the caterpillar move around to places where it can distribute the fungus. It's bizarre. It's even weirder than that. I don't remember all the details. Look it up. But basically, in Chinese medicine, you get cordyceps, where like if you go to a Chinatown, you'll see these bins full of freeze-dried caterpillars, and they're full of the fungus. Okay, so you take them and you boil them in a soup, and it's an energy tonic. You get a ton of energy out of it. It's also, now I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me on this, but it's also a traditional folk remedy that highly boosts your lung health and immune system, respiratory health and immune system. So people were doing this during the avian influenza outbreak in 2010, and it was touted as a very excellent preventative for bird flu, which apparently is coming back, along with everything else that CNN tells us to be afraid of. So just as a point of data, psilocybin microdosing, man, everyone just wants an excuse to do drugs all day long. I don't know what to tell you about that.